Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
We're in Russell Square.
Feels like a summer's day.
Yeah, I got hay fever.
Okay, so we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto.
Chapter 26, text 9. Fundamental principles of material nature.
Okay.
Om
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
We're in sync.
In the sink, man.
Alright, text 9. Devahuti said, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, kindly explain the characteristics of the Supreme Person and his energies, for both of these are the causes of this manifest and unmanifest creation. Prakriti or material nature is connected with both the Supreme Lord and the living entities, just as a woman is connected with her husband as a wife and with her children as a mother. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that he impregnates Mother Nature with children, living entities, and therefore all species of living entities become manifest. The relationship of all living entities with material nature has been explained. Now an understanding of the relationship between material nature and the Supreme Lord is sought by Devahuti. The product of that relationship is stated to be the manifest and unmanifest material world. The unmanifest material world is the subtle Mahat-tattva, and from that Mahat-tattva the material manifestation has emerged.
In the Vedic literatures, it is said that by the glance of the Supreme Lord, the total material energy is impregnated, and then everything is born of material nature. It is also confirmed in the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita that under his glance, Adyakshena, under his direction and by his will, nature is working. It is not that nature works blindly. After understanding the position of the conditioned souls in relation to material nature, Devahuti wanted to know how nature works under the direction of the Lord and what the relationship is between the material nature and the Lord. In other words, she wanted to learn the characteristics of the Supreme Lord in relation to the material nature.
The relationship of the living entities with matter and that of the Supreme Lord with matter are certainly not on the same level, although the Mayavadis may interpret it in that way. When it is said that the living entities are bewildered, the Mayavadi philosophers ascribe this bewilderment to the Supreme Lord, but that is not applicable. The Lord is never bewildered. That is the difference between personalists and impersonalists. Devahuti is not unintelligent. She has enough intelligence to understand that the living entities are not on the level of the Supreme Lord. Because living entities are infinitesimal, they become bewildered or conditioned by material nature. But this does not mean that the Supreme Lord is also conditioned or bewildered. The difference between the conditioned soul and the Lord is that the Lord, the master of material nature, and he is therefore not subject to its control. He is controlled neither by spiritual nature nor by material nature. He is the supreme controller himself, and he cannot be compared to the ordinary living entities who are controlled by the laws of material nature.
Two words used in this verse are Sat and Asat. The cosmic manifestation is Asat. It does not exist. But the material energy of the Supreme Lord is Sat, or ever existing. Material nature is ever existing in its subtle form as the energy of the Lord, but it sometimes manifests this non-existent or temporarily existent nature, the cosmos. An analogy may be made with the father and mother. The mother and father exist, but sometimes the mother begets children. Similarly, this cosmic manifestation, which comes from the unmanifest material nature of the Supreme Lord, sometimes appears and again disappears, but the material nature is ever existing. And the Lord is the supreme cause for both the subtle and gross manifestations of this material world. Any thoughts on all of that?
So what Prabhupada is saying in the purport is that Devahuti question, which she's asking, explain the characteristics of the Supreme Person and his energies. For both of these, meaning his energies, are the cause of the material and the spiritual nature, or what she says is manifest and unmanifest. So Prabhupada expands on it in the purport, but Kapila Dev will answer it in the next verse, but what she wants to know is, what is your relationship with the material energy which is manifesting from you? It reminds me of like sometimes the questions that Arjuna is asking in the Bhagavad Gita, which might appear obvious, or especially when to the point that we get to in certain parts of the Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna's already expanded on certain things, but then Prabhupada explains, no, he's not asking for himself, he's asking for further clarification or this and that, to make it clear for future, readers or people, or whatever, philosophers, whatever. So in the same way I was saying, it just reminded me of that. So she's almost like saying, because we've read a fair amount of it, about it, I'm sure, and she has faith of who he is and the Lord, but it's like, no, you explain now. So she's making it the point. You are the source of material and spiritual energy. So she's making that point and she gets it. So what's your relationship between the two? And it kind of like expands that more to make it more concrete position of the Lord.
Yeah. Which, of course, Prabhupada is stating in the purport that, and has stated that there's a difference in the opinion of the impersonalists or the Mayavadi school about the relationship between Krishna and the material energy, and also the material energy and living entities, and Krishna and the living entities. So there are different opinions. So here, Kapila Dev is going to give, the definitive answer like that. Of course, Prabhupada often mentions there's another Kapila Dev as well, who's an atheistic Kapila Dev that speaks Sankhya philosophy, and that's the Kapila Dev that often gets quoted by these other persons, not this Kapila Dev.
Yeah.
Text 10. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the unmanifested eternal combination of the three modes is the cause of the manifest state and is called pradhan. It is called prakriti when in the manifested stage of existence. It's so funny this is coming up because at the moment I'm listening to the audiobooks of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it's discussing this exact thing, and I literally just heard this the other day and thought, oh, okay, finally some clarification on the distinction between pradhan and prakriti. So the unmanifested eternal combination of the three modes is the cause of the manifested state and is called pradhan. So in its unmanifested state, the three modes, which are basically dormant, you could say, and unmixed, that's called pradhan. But from pradhan manifests prakriti, which is what you have all around us. But that material energy in its unmanifested form, before it manifests variety, is called pradhan. Let's see how it is explained. Purport. The Lord points out material nature in its subtle stage, which is called pradhan, and he analyzes this pradhan. The explanation of pradhan and prakriti is that pradhan is the subtle, undifferentiated sum total of all material elements. Although they are undifferentiated, one can understand that the total material elements are contained therein. When the total material elements are manifested by the interaction of the three modes of material nature, the manifestation is called prakriti. Make sense? Mm-hmm. And personalists say that Brahman is without variegatedness and without differentiation. One may say that pradhan is the Brahman stage. but actually the Brahman stage is not Pradhan. Pradhan is distinct from Brahman because in Brahman there is no existence of the material modes of nature. Important point. One may argue that the Mahatattva is also different from Pradhan because in the Mahatattva there are manifestations. Okay, so it's introducing a third word, the Mahatattva, which is also often not so easily distinguished. So what we have here is Pradhan, which is the undifferentiated, subtle form of Prakriti. It's the origin of Prakriti. It's Krishna's material energy in its unmanifested form. Then when the three modes of material nature become agitated or start to intermingle, then it becomes Prakriti. Now, that unmanifested form, because there's no differentiation, it's all one, and what Prabhupada says is such a powerful point, is that one may say that that's the Brahman, that's where you merge into. That's the Brahmajyoti, that's the unmanifested oneness, or the undifferentiated oneness. But he makes a very powerful and important point. No, that's not Pradhan, because Pradhan, or not, that's not Brahman, because Brahman is free from the three modes of material nature, whereas Pradhan is not. Brahman is beyond the modes of material nature. Brahman is a level of liberation, and liberation means what? It means beyond the gunas, beyond the modes of material nature. So, like that. So, do you want to read the rest, or you want me to keep reading?
You can keep reading your section.
The actual explanation of Pradhan, however, is given here. When the cause and effect are not clearly manifested of yakta, that's great, this is just what I was hearing earlier, the reaction of the total elements does not take place, and that stage of material nature is called Pradhan. Pradhan is not the time element because in the time element there are actions and reactions, creation and annihilation. Nor is it the jiva, or marginal potency of living entities, or designated conditioned living entities, because the designations of the living entities are not eternal. One adjective used in this connection is nitya, which indicates eternality. Therefore, the condition of material nature immediately previous to its manifestation is called Pradhan. That's great. And also, in the 5 topics of Bhagavad Gita, there's only one that's not eternal, and that is, I think, karma, which is ironic because the material energy, Prakriti, is considered eternal. So here we see that Pradhan is eternal, but it's eternal in its unmanifest form. But once it manifests into all these varieties of forms, they're temporary, so that's not eternal. Got it? There'll be a test at the end. Oh, you were supposed to do something last time also. What did we ask everyone to do?
Give them a chance. We asked them to make a list or point of choosing Krishna, the consciousness of Krishna over material energy, and making a note and how that affected your day or your week by purposefully choosing to look on the side of Krishna.
Yes, see Krishna's hand in something. Yeah.
And just see how that affects you. And you can put it in the comments and we shall look at it.
We shall look at it. Okay, you can read one more. It's quite short by the looks of things.
Alright, text 11. The aggregate elements, namely the 5 gross elements, the 5 subtle elements, the 4 internal senses, the 5 senses for gathering knowledge, and the 5 outward organs of action are known as a Pradhan. Purport. According to Bhagavad Gita, the sum total of the 24 elements described herein is called the Yone Mahad Brahma. The sum total of the living entities is impregnated into this Yone Mahad Brahma, and they are born in different forms beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant. In the Srimad Bhagavatam and other Vedic literatures, the sum total of the 24 elements, pradhan, is also described as Yoni Mahad Brahma. It is a source of the birth and subsistence of all living entities.
Thoughts?
Well, yeah, I was following the previous purport, but that's the thing. Then it, like I was saying, because I'm more literal. Yeah, it just gets a bit
Yeah.
spaghetti junction.
So the aggregate elements, namely the 5 gross, what are the 5 gross elements? Earth, water, fire, air, ether. That's the 5 gross elements. 5 subtle elements. Wow. Mind, intelligence, false ego. What are the other subtle elements? I didn't think there were 5 subtle. I thought there were 3 subtle. The 4 internal senses. Interesting. 5 senses for gathering knowledge. Well, that's the Gyanendriyas. So that's the tongue, the nose, the eyes, the ears, and the skin. Then the 5 outward organs of action. The legs, the arms, the tongue again, the genital, and the anus, or rectum. So that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 24. Yeah, interesting. There are lists, other places lists. The mind is there, false ego is there, the intelligence is there, the spirit soul is also there in the mix as well. 5 subtle elements. Interesting.
If you know them, but make a note of it in the comments along with everything else you're going to know.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of comments. Okay. All right, so shall we call it a day?
Okay, we're going to call it a day because we're a little bit short on time today. But we still wanted to dip into the nectarian ocean that is Srimad Bhagavatam.
Okay, thank you all very much. Remember, comment, like, subscribe, and share. See you later. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.